Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch. This is a European soccer edition. We're going to go through the Carabao Cup and the Copa del Rey. Should be a pretty brief episode, but we'll still have an ultimate best bet coming end of show. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, please subscribe, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. That'd be huge for the search rankings. And if you want to put it or put something in there relevant to any of the podcasts we're doing on this Bet in the Pitch podcast network, that is professional football, NFL, plus soccer, plus college basketball, the Need for Seeds podcast. If you do something, write a 5-star review, make it relevant to one of those sports. I will have my co-host read it if it's one of the other sports or soccer. Of course, I will do it. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything in there would be great. Just 5 stars would be most appreciated. On today's episode, we'll start in the English Premier League's Carabao Cup, which is actually not all Premier League teams. As soon as I pull this up, I'm using all lines are quoted courtesy of Bet Online. There is a promo code in the podcast description. If you're watching on Twitter right now at @the_Real_G_Warner, you probably will not see that. But if you follow up, there is a 50% match bonus for all first-time depositors at Bet Online. Plus, if you're not a member at SportsBetting.ag, their sister site, it's even better. You can get a 100% match. So put in $500 maximum, I believe. You can get 500 in casino cash, which is pretty big. And I think a really good reason to join over there if you haven't already. Looks like the same exact site to me. I think it's worth taking some free money. So we'll start in the Carabao Cup. We have a Tuesday match. Recording this Tuesday. Got an hour and a half till kickoff, if my times are correct. And it looks like we've had a little bit of movement, specifically even today, with Chelsea hosting Middlesbrough. So Middlesbrough currently a 2-goal underdog, up from 1 3/4, and the total is 3 1/4, and it's juiced a little bit to over. All the juice right now is on Middlesbrough getting 2 goals. And I think that's based on the first leg of this competition. This is a 2-legged semifinal. Middlesbrough with a 1-0 victory at home. I had the under, so I'm thankful for that one. Was thinking about the side, but was ultimately a little bit concerned about the discrepancy between Chelsea in the Premier League and Middlesbrough in the Championship. But Middlesbrough did a pretty good job of keeping Chelsea out, kept a clean sheet, and now they're going to go try to do exactly the same thing on the road at Stamford Bridge. So Chelsea are not an offense that I've got much respect for. They did have last weekend off in the Premier League. It was a very limited schedule. But this is a pretty big game for Chelsea to try to get. It's probably their best chance at silverware. They still have the FA Cup, I believe, but ultimately they need to get through, turn this deficit around, and then win the final, which could happen against the winner of Fulham or Liverpool, which we'll get to next on this podcast. If you're not a member yet of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/thereal_G_Warner. Good spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything throughout the day. And you can even download the application, get a notification each time I lock something in, so you make sure you get the same price I do. So Chelsea, 2-goal favorite. Why do they deserve that type of price? Well, they're going to have to go for it because they need, at minimum, to win by a goal. I don't think road goals matter anymore. Chelsea got none of those, so they need to get at least a 1-goal margin in regulation, 90 minutes plus stoppage time to get through. And that is how this all these numbers I'm quoting right now will be graded after 90 minutes. So you do not have to worry about extra time potentially causing some problems for the totals. That's one of my favorite things about this sport, because they don't call it undertime. They call it overtime, which is usually good for overs and favorites. But in this case, I think Middlesbrough go on the road and try to do as much as they can to keep Chelsea from scoring. Now, if Middlesbrough, it's nice to have a push on 2 at this point. I'm tempted more and more when I see that. It's a much bigger number than I made it, though. Chelsea were a pretty big favorite on the road at Middlesbrough last time, or in the first leg of this competition. But I think we have a scenario where Middlesbrough, they're going to do the best they can to keep Chelsea from scoring. Of course, Middlesbrough would love to score, make it a little bit easier, get their first foot into the championship final. But I think they're going to do their best to really try to keep Chelsea out, because they know a clean sheet will get them on to the next round. Chelsea, on their hand, are going to go forward, but they are used to doing that. They're used to possessing the ball against a lot of the Premier League, and they struggle with those defenses. Certainly not the same type of level here with Middlesbrough, but I think Chelsea are just built to counterattack. They're built to use their pace and score with open pitches in front of them, and Middlesbrough will do everything they can not to allow that. So I think Chelsea has a big problem today scoring a lot of goals. That makes me of course, Scream are very interested in under 3.25. Feels like 3 is more appropriate, but this number is actually trending towards 3.5. And I'm actually very interested now in seeing that +2 goals. So what happens with Middlesbrough if they go behind by 2? Then they are going out of the competition. And so they would 2-0, let's say, then they're certainly going to be pushing forward to try to score and equalize. And what that will do is then put Chelsea in a much better position to score that third goal, kill the matchup, and also kill the 2-goal spread. But there's a lot to kind of ask for going for that. I think there's a very good chance that this is a Chelsea 1-0 late in the match, and both teams are kind of preparing for extra time. I'm not going to guarantee that's going to occur because Middlesbrough's defense on the road will certainly have a lot more trouble than they did at home. I just don't think Chelsea are very good against low blocks. We've seen even much better, stronger, well-run clubs like Arsenal struggle with low blocks this season. So I think Middlesbrough will have a lot of success there. So I'm very interested in that +2 now that we have it. Wasn't sure we'd get there. It is very juiced at the moment at Bet Online, but for now, and generally how I do these podcasts, if you listen to them, I'm going with current lines. So I do like that +2 for Middlesbrough, and I also like the under 3.25. So now I'll move to the next match in the League Cup. I don't think I have any too advanced numbers, unfortunately. So I guess I'll leave that to the side. But we got Fulham hosting Liverpool. Fulham took a 1-0 lead at Liverpool and then ended up falling 2-1, which still keeps them in the tie. And I think got a push for me on the under in that first matchup, as I was pretty much just going under on all these matchups back then, and don't really see a big reason to change that. But Fulham currently a 3/4 goal underdog at home with almost all the juice over unders 3, juiced all the way to under. So maybe we see this one fall a little bit further. Liverpool with a very interesting 4-0 victory this weekend at Bournemouth. 2 braces from the fill-ins for Mohamed Salah. I guess you can't say that completely because I think Darwin Nunez was starting for a while. But to me, it felt like very fortunate goals. One was off of a whiffed kick that then, of course, the guy who missed his kick reacted to it the fastest in Diogo Jota. And the rest of the team was already on the floor trying to block that first kick. And then I think Bournemouth also got an injury in stoppage time, and basically we're playing with 10 men without a red card. And one of those late goals right in stoppage time to really kill an under was brutal. Liverpool have shown that they could be very clinical. They didn't have many chances in that matchup. And I would expect that they would have even fewer here against Fulham. Though Fulham being 1 behind on the aggregate scoreline, will be having to score at least 1 goal or to win by 1 goal to push this to extra time. Now, of course, they'd love to do that in regulation. I think their target really is to take that lead and then see what happens. But I think they'll be conservative and probably will think, oh, if we have extra time or penalties at home, that's probably a good enough scenario for us, because I think Fulham are really just trying to do the best they can, knowing they're a huge underdog in this scenario. Seeing Fulham getting 3/4 of the goal does feel like a big number, especially for a team that needs to win by a goal. Liverpool, of course, will be celebrating at the final whistle when a draw comes through, and that'll cover the spread for Fulham. But I think what we talked about, or just I guess we as a collective but what I just talked about with the last matchup is there's a very good chance that Fulham are pushing forward to try to score as much as possible, and that does leave them. And the further the match gets along, the more likely they are to kind of expose their defense even further. I think that's a big concern for me for playing an under here, but that's still the way I lean, and I do like Fulham getting 3/4 of the goal. I'm hoping that it climbs to 1, so that would kind of protect you against one of those empty netters, like late goals that Liverpool score when Fulham throws everyone up from a tie match or something like that, trying to Fulham to try to get that equalizer on the aggregate. But we don't have that yet. So, and it's very juiced right now on the Fulham side. So it doesn't necessarily look like, based on the progression of how the spread has moved, that we'll get there. So probably under 3 would be my bigger interest in that one. And I guess for the ultimate best bet portion of the show, before we get to the Copa del Rey, I'm going to go with that Middlesbrough under 3.25 as my favorite bet. Yes, it starts today. So stay tuned, and hopefully you are watching this live, or it gets up into Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify very quickly after recording this. So now I'll move to the Spanish Copa del Rey. Of course, I will come back and circle around to give an ultimate best bet end of show. And let's make sure I can find it it's unfortunately in a different section than the La Liga. Okay, Spanish Copa del Rey. So we have 4 matches here. Unfortunately, only 3 are lined, so that's disappointing, but it's the best that we can do at the moment. So I'll make my projection and potentially open the Komodo and look, potentially expose myself to society. Not really what I'm looking for, but since we don't have lines yet for Atletico Madrid and Sevilla, we'll go into the Copa del Rey, Spanish Copa del Rey on Tuesday, January 23rd, which is the same day as we're recording this, a couple hours before game time. A little bit less than 2 hours till we kick off. We have Celta de Vigo hosting Real Sociedad, a direct rematch, which I hate when this happens, but it's, I guess, a random draw. These two teams just played same venue on Saturday. Here we have Celta de Vigo, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice in Real Sociedad. Over under is 1 3/4, juice all the way to over. Now, this is interesting because there's a match of this exact type played this weekend, same venue. Though Real Sociedad did a lot of rotating for it. They played a fair amount of their younger players. There's a lot of late movement in the before the match kicked off, where Celta had moved from initially a quarter goal underdog, very juiced, back to pick'em, and then closed a favorite, believe it or not, based on Real Sociedad's lack of interest in that La Liga matchup potentially. Total had dropped from 2 to 2 1/4 initially, all the way through 2 to 1 3/4. Very juiced to the over. Well, Real Sociedad ended up finding a brilliant first goal in the 10th minute or so, despite playing a lot of their backups. And it was actually a former Celta de Vigo player, one of their starters, Bryce Mendez, who scored, who I think returned after only 2 weeks from a broken arm or something like that. And then Real Sociedad held on for dear life and were able to do it. And 1-0 victory they got. They did lose, I think, Ian Munoz, one of their fullbacks, left fullback, I want to say. Match I went to in San Sebastian, he got sent off for second yellow card in the first half, which is kind of funny. But not funny this weekend was he badly injured himself, maybe Achilles or knee or something like that. But it was not good. Animo Aichen, I think would be the right thing to say in Spanish, but who knows. Celta currently a quarter goal underdog with all the juice on Real Sociedad. So what would you expect here? Celta Vigo, they definitely played their best this weekend. So maybe this is a reaction to that result, or potentially that Celta Vigo can't possibly play their 36-year-old striker or second striker in Iago Aspas, who's really their goal scorer, penalty kick taker, all that sort of stuff. Maybe there's some rumors he's not going to start this match. Total at 1 3/4 matches what it was before. I'll be looking to see if this climbs to 2, as I think this will be a very similar match in the score line where it'll be very low scoring. I don't think Celta Vigo can really create a bunch of chances against Real Sociedad. I'm worried a little bit because Real Sociedad seemed to play their best defenders this weekend. On Saturday night, but now we have it on Tuesday. Not too long of a trip, I don't think, from Celta Vigo in the northwest of Spain versus Real Sociedad in the north. So everyone probably went home. I don't think there was a stayover for the whole entire weekend or something in a ocean town like Celta Vigo are, or like Vigo is. But I think from where I'm looking at this one, there's not a lot I want to do here because I don't really like Celta de Vigo as a quarter goal underdog against what should be a rested and probably better Real Sociedad lineup, especially after they won. I mean, I did like Celta de Vigo a lot this weekend because Real Sociedad had rotated, but ended up not playing anything. Kind of wish I played under. Unfortunately, 2 is kind of my minimum there. But so that's probably my interest here. Don't have to, and I'm not sure that Celta Vigo with a potential weekend lineup that I'm ready to commit to it a couple hours before game time, or at least an hour before the lineups are out. So moving now to Wednesday, we have 2 matches, and then I'll guess the Thursday line for everyone to see, and hopefully I'm within the realm of possibilities. We'll start the early match on Wednesday. Real Club de Mallorca, they are hosting Girona. Currently, Mallorca a quarter goal underdog at home. Almost all the juice on Girona. On the road, over under is 2 1/4. Juiced pretty heavily to under right now. And that's a very low total for a Girona match. I'll put it that way. Now, Girona did a fairly significant rotation for their last Copa del Rey match, and then just really completely steamrolled Rayo Vallecano, though Rayo fell behind early, gave a really silly penalty, and I think we're 2-0 down within 20 minutes or something like that. Not the great way to go on the road and pull an upset. Now, Mallorca here, they're going to be as defensive as possible. Got a really good result on the road at Villarreal this weekend. After playing 120 minutes or 25 or whatever the number was with extra time, in their last round of the Copa del Rey, which they won on the road at Tenerife in Las Islas Canarias in the Canary Islands. I believe that's where Tenerife is, but don't quote me. Mallorca here, a quarter goal underdog is fairly decent respect. Girona, I mean, maybe this is hinting that there's going to be some missing players. Girona have been awesome in La Liga and clearly are taking that seriously, trying to get into Champions League or really just try to win the damn league. Excuse my French, but it's kind of wild. And I've learned to take notice in soccer betting when there's very cheap underdogs. It's usually for a good reason, and the total is very low as well at 2.25. And juice to an under. I mean, Girona are an attacking team. They defend by attacking. When they have leads, they try to attack. Mallorca are going to be very defensive in the low block that they will do the best they can to keep Girona out. So that all points to under here potentially. The prices are very, very expensive in the unders type of price, lower side and lower totals here. But I'll go with the market and I'll lean to both the home underdog and to the under in that early match on Wednesday. Move to the nightcap. We have Athletic Club Bilbao hosting Barcelona. Currently, Athletic Club a pick'em. All the juice on Barcelona on the road. Over under is 2.75. Juice very heavily to under. So maybe we see this hit 2.5, but Barcelona overs. Barcelona bets and overs come in literally all the time until kickoff. So I never really try to back them early unless something miraculous happened, like Messi was out of a lineup way back when. Then the line would shift. But for the most part, wait if you like Athletic Club or under, and if you like over or Barca, jump in it now. So Barcelona, their team I'm looking to fade as much as possible. I don't believe in their offense. I don't believe in their defense when they're under pressure. I think they're very likely to crack. I think Xavi Hernandez, their manager, is there's more pressure, I think, than people are thinking. And I'm just not necessarily a believer in who they are. Now, they're only a pick 'em on the road. I'm hoping that they move to a quarter goal favorite. But since we don't have that yet, I will, I guess I won't be able to take it for my ultimate best bet because I'll be waiting to see Athletic Club get to that quarter goal underdog. Athletic Club, they're have had a great year so far this season, had a tough loss this weekend at Valencia, but they are going to counterattack you, and that is exactly the way I'd want to set up against Barcelona. Invite them up the field because that's what they do anyway. They're always going to possess the ball. And then once they're in a dangerous position on the pitch, then you use your pace and go the other way. Now, Athletic Club are missing Iñaki Williams, which is a big deal, part of that Williams brothers tandem, who really have all the speed that you could ever ask for. And unfortunately, they're limited by that because they only have it on one side of the pitch right now. But I think Barcelona will still be vulnerable to it. And we know that their fullbacks are basically trying to score goals every time they touch the ball or get up the field to do so. So I think there's still plenty of risk for Barcelona. And that might actually play a little bit into the under because not having both Williams brothers might make it a little bit more difficult for Athletic Club to really be as effective on a counterattack. But San Mamés, the home crowd, should be nuts. And it should be a really great environment. I think a really tough one for Barcelona, and one that truly they've really struggled to pass any sort of test this year. And I don't know why they passed this one. So I guess Bilbao, I love the pick 'em at the moment. I probably would play that getting odds right as it currently stands, but I'll be waiting until game time potentially to get a little bit better of a price. And hopefully that that quarter of a goal on the home underdog does end up arising. So now I'll move, I guess, the last matchup in La Liga's Copa del Rey. I'm pretty sure it's on Thursday, the 25th, but I don't have a line yet at BetOnline. Unfortunately, I don't know where I could really go to find one immediately. So I'll just give you, I guess, what I'm expecting. So I'm expecting Sevilla go on the road to Atletico Madrid, coming off a very nice victory, upset victory on the road at Getafe. Wasn't expected, but they got some goals out of a youngster and really did a great job of taking advantage of the mistakes, made some of their own, of course, as they always do. But Sevilla coming off a road trip to Girona, now they will be on the road at Atletico Madrid, one of the toughest places to play in La Liga, and especially for Atleti, who did have a Monday match on the road at Granada, but one of the worst teams in La Liga. And then they've been struggling on the road, but they've been great at home. So I'm expecting probably a +1 on Sevilla right now on the road, which is big time for a really proud club that won Europa League a million times, including last season. We're a Champions League side this year, but they've played nothing like it. They're in a relegation fight for the second straight year and continue to get lined like they're a decent team. Now, maybe they're turning it around under a very defensive manager. And for that reason, I think my biggest interest is in an under here. I'm expecting something around 2 3/4. Would love to get a 3, but I feel like that's probably too high, especially seeing that Barcelona is only 2 3/4 on the road at Athletic Club. A little bit different scenario there. But I'll be looking towards under in that Sevilla matchup because I don't really trust them to hang with Atletico Madrid, at least offensively. But I do think that they can do a pretty good job of keeping them out, which is really it's sad for Sevilla where they've kind of fallen to. That's their, I guess, style now. That's where they're at. But they are literally just trying to do their best to keep you out of their net. So before I get into the ultimate best bet, got a couple ads to run through. So if you haven't already taken advantage of signing up at BetOnline or at SportsBetting.ag, go check out the podcast description if you're on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, or in the description on YouTube. There are links there to get you that bonus. Take some free money from the casinos for signing up, and it's always good to have extra outs. If you're not a member of my Patreon yet, check it out, patreon.com. So that's the real_G Warner, the best spot to get all my plays across all sports, college basketball, pro football, baseball as it's coming up soon, college basketball, of course. Get all my leans, my write-ups. Pretty much what I do is I put out my leans overnight. I write up the games I'm considering betting, or as soon as I lock them in, I let everyone know. If you download the application, you get a notification every time I lock something in. There's a special button that I can notify the patrons with an important post, which is usually if I lock something in the day before for a college basketball game, or just when I think things are moving in the direction that I want to get in there before the move happens, a lot of that sort of stuff, and make sure that you can get the same prices that I'm getting at your various books, hopefully BetOnline or SportsBetting.ag. If you're not a member of that, go check that out, as I just said, without trying to repeat myself. Also want to welcome Jake Azeldin with the team. He's the newest patron member. Appreciate that. Newest patron, I guess, is all I need to say. But trying to shout everybody out who's coming in. It's a great place, and I really appreciate all the support there. It gives me a little bit more of an ability to do these episodes. So thank you so much to Jake, and of course the rest of the squad, which I'll try to figure out some way to shout you all out if you want to be shouted out. I don't know if you're trying to be a little bit less known to the world, but anyway, Jake, thanks so much for signing up. So I guess it's time for the ultimate best bet, and we're a little hamstrung by unfortunately not having that fourth match, because potentially I'm a little bit interested in that under in the Sevilla visiting Atleti, but I guess that's how it goes. So this is the real_G Warner. This is Betting the Pitch, the European soccer podcast for this January 23rd. We're going through the Carabao Cup in England and the Copa del Rey in Spain. And for my ultimate best bet, I already gave for England, I like the Middlesbrough under 3.25 goals on Tuesday afternoon, the 23rd of January. For Spain and the Copa del Rey, a big competition, I'm going to go for my best bet there to be the under 2 3/4 for Athletic Club hosting Barcelona. I think it's going to be a really tough matchup there, but I got to pick one for the ultimate best bet. That's what everyone's grading me on, and that's what you're watching, hopefully on Instagram, on YouTube, or maybe on Twitter if I'm getting up there in time before this all kicks off. And for my ultimate best bet, I'm going to go with that Athletic Club Barcelona under 2 3/4 goals. I'm still waiting to see Athletic Club hit a quarter goal underdog at home. I really like that side as well. Just want to bet against the Barcelona offense in a really tough place to play in San Mamés. And that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. Thank you all for tuning in. I know we've had a bunch of viewers in and hanging around this whole time. Thank you for 24 minutes of your day. Hope that this will be valuable and that we can make some money from it. And of course, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, slide in my DMs, the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, or on Twitter. And I'm happy to incorporate any sort of feedback and potentially come up with some new show ideas. Or if you want to be on the show, let me know. Just need probably a microphone or just to call in, old school radio style. But thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you all very, very soon.